Now part 3 of our 3-part football series previewing the upcoming schedule. And we finish with BYU's trio of contests in November. And as always, we welcome our BYU TV football analyst extraordinaire, Blaine Fowler.
Well, and it's good that they get a bye to start November because they've got a heck of a road trip where they go back to Notre Dame and then to Georgia Tech, and then they have to kick it into gear and try to finish in November. So they need a week off to regroup, I think.
And to preface it, the second year of independence, it was going to be a weak November, so we shouldn't be shocked to see what we have coming up. And it starts at home November 10th against Idaho, the final home game. That's pretty early for the last home game of the year.
Yeah, and this is an Idaho team that has just replaced their head coach. Rob Akey is the new head coach there. He's got some ties to Utah. An old Weber State guy, was there with Mike Price and was the D coordinator with Mike Price at Washington State, so he has had a lot of success. But we'll see all new schemes on both sides of the ball for Idaho, and some new coaches people might be familiar with. Jason Gesser, who played for the Utah Blaze in the indoor league, will be coaching on the offense, and then Al Papuno, the great tight end from Weber State who played 9 years with the San Diego Chargers, is also coaching on that offense. So maybe of more interest is the coaching staff that he's assembled there. But this is a game that BYU should be able to just physically outmatch Idaho. That's what happened last season. They just could not match up front, and I expect that to be the same this season. BYU should be able to run the football at will on this football team.
On the road now at San Jose State on Saturday, November 17th. The Spartans appear to be destined for the Mountain West Conference, but they're in the WAC this year, and they get a home game with the Cougars. And that's good news for BYU fans living in the Bay Area, where they can go and see them without having to travel to Provo.
And this was a much improved football team last season. Mike McIntyre got an extension to his contract after last year. It's a team with solid skill players, a good receiving core. Now they have to replace their quarterback. You know, they do have an excellent receiving group, but this was a team that threw for over 280 yards a game last season. They spread the football around, and they have 5 starters back on the defensive side of the ball. I expect this to be a game where we see footballs flying all over the place, but like all 3 teams that BYU plays in the month of November, they've got to find a starting quarterback, and that's not an easy thing to do. One of the reasons I'm so bullish on BYU this season is because they've got a returning starter coming back and a leader, and none of the teams that BYU plays in the month of December have that, including San Jose State.
All right, Bay Area fans, we'll see you there on November 17th. On the 24th, it's at New Mexico State, so the Cougars don't play the Lobos anymore, but a rare visit to Las Cruces for New Mexico State.
Well, and Dwayne Walker, the head coach there, returns this season. This is a team that loses its leading passer. Matt Christian is gone, the starting quarterback, who was pretty solid last year, 3,000-yard passer. They lose their leading rusher in Kenny Turner, who's an NFL guy. They lose their leading tackler, Coleman, a very good defensive back. And they also lose Tavion Rogers, the leading receiver. So they lose 4 NFL-type guys, and they've got a lot to try to backfill. And they always have good skill players there. But again, BYU should dominate up front and be able to run the football and control the line of scrimmage on the defensive side.
Should the Cougars get bowl eligible, and we expect them to, they will play in San Diego December 20th. That's a Thursday night in the San Diego County Poinsettia Bowl. It'll be on ESPN. And I went through the record books, Blaine, and BYU has not won a bowl game in San Diego since you helped win the national championship game way back in 1984.
It's time to change that, and it's a great place to play, and the San Diego BYU fans will show up in force. I like the fact that they get to return down and play in a stadium that they're familiar with. It's a great venue. San Diego's a great place to go for a bowl game.
All right, let's look at the full schedule for you now as we've broken it down month to month over the last 3 weeks, and here we go. Maybe not so tough at the end, way tough in the middle. I like this schedule.
Well, and I think it's tough at the beginning, too. Last year, it was a decent schedule. This is a much tougher schedule. Even though November seems light, if they can get to November with 1 loss or less, they're really in great shape. And the game that scares me most, we talked about it last week, is that road trip where they go to Notre Dame, then they come back and have to go to Georgia Tech and play in Atlanta. That's a scary one against an option team. But if they can get through the month of October in good shape, they'll finish strong. And I think this is a team that has the talent to be a top 15 team this season.